WhiskyCast. Proudly brought to you by Redbreast, the definitive single pot still Irish whiskey. Join the Stillhouse at singlepotstill.com and receive an exclusive whiskey tasting journal.
For 3 years, the Bulleit Experience at Diageo's Stitzel-Weller Distillery campus in Louisville was a visitors center with no visitors, used only for training programs. No more. After spending several $1 million on upgrades, the renamed Bulleit Frontier Whiskey Experience is now the latest stop on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail.
This really is the house that Tom built. And it's great that Diageo owns the Bulleit brand, and it's great that Tom has been part of it ever since Diageo attained the brand. But the truth of the matter is, Tom really built this brand.
Tom Bulleit gets the credit for kick-starting Diageo's massive investment in Kentucky, with $115 million budgeted for the new Bulleit Distillery, about 35 miles east of Louisville, and $10 million being spent on upgrades at Stitzel-Weller. Bulleit is one of Diageo's fastest-growing brands, but several years ago, Tom Bulleit had what Kentuckians might call a come-to-Jesus meeting with Diageo executives in New York. He was not happy with the way his family's brand was being treated.
And I remember it as clear as day, and we decided that we were going to embark on unleashing the potential of Tom Bulleit. And from that day of about 43,000 cases, we sold over 600,000 cases this year, which is absolutely amazing. Tom, what a pleasure this is for both of us today to realize your dream and your vision and make it come true. So, Mr. Tom Bulleit.
Tom Bulleit may seem mild-mannered, but he's also a battle-hardened Marine veteran from the Vietnam era.
Well, good afternoon, good afternoon to you all. I have my bullet points here. As you can see, I was extremely well prepared.
A lawyer and a keen student of history.
I'm so proud to have our name, the Bulleit family, and the Bulleit heritage and tradition associated with the remarkable heritage and tradition of Stitzel-Weller here. We are the heirs of Pappy Van Winkle, and certainly the great brands that were distilled here through the years.
Diageo houses 412,000 barrels of whiskey at Stitzel-Weller.
Now we're going to kind of walk in, and you can see, I think most of y'all have been in a rick house, but always fun to check it out and get that smell.
And for the first time, visitors will get a brief look at some of them as part of the tour. The Bulleit Frontier Whiskey Experience will become the brand home for Bulleit Bourbon and Bulleit Rye, along with the Orphan Barrel range of whiskeys, and many more in the future.
In the next couple of months, we'll probably see another offering on Orphan Barrel. And I think the other thing, we'll see more American whiskey right out of this building. So if we were to take a walk into one of the warehouses, we have an archive, which is probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of ideas. And what we plan on doing is leveraging the bottles that we have in this archive, the labels that we have in these archives. The good news is we have the whiskey, and we could go back in time and recreate some of the labels that existed and some of the packaging. So, and we'll bottle it right here. So I think American whiskey, we're just starting in terms of our ideas and bottling it right here.
The critics have said over in recent weeks that this is a sign that Diageo is now taking American whiskey seriously. Is this a sign that Diageo is going to start getting serious about American whiskey?
I think we demonstrated that we have taken it very serious for many years. I mean, our investment in Tullahoma with George Dickel, our investment in Bulleit, we do sell a couple of million cases of American whiskey. So we're a whiskey company. When you take Scotch whiskey, when you take Canadian whiskey, and you take American whiskey, and you add it all up, we really are a great whiskey company. So I think taking it serious is one thing, but having the assets, the heritage assets, to lean upon to take it even to another level, we're very fortunate to have brands such as Bulleit and Dickel.
While the big stills at Stitzel-Weller won't return to work anytime soon, work is underway on a micro distillery next to the Visitors Center, with plans to start making a barrel of whiskey a day by next May. It'll be the second micro distillery in Louisville, similar to the one Heaven Hill opened last fall at the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience downtown. And the metro Louisville area is counting on bourbon tourism to keep growing.
We created a word for it, bourbonism, and bourbonism is the act of visiting Kentucky to enjoy bourbon and our local food. And what it's provided for the city and the state is the development of a 52-week-a-year tourism industry that we really didn't have before.
Stitzel-Weller's actually in the suburb of Shively, which grew up around the distillery after it opened in 1935. The distillery's barrel tax has helped build the town, and tourism dollars may help grow it today.
Of course, Stitzel-Weller is most identified with the legendary Pappy Van Winkle. No one knows what Pappy would have said about his place being turned into a visitor attraction and tourists going through his old office, which Tom Bulleit now occupies. But his granddaughter and biographer, Sally Van Winkle Campbell, told me today that Pappy accepted the idea of change. In other words, he might be okay with all this. For more stories on whiskey, the people who make it, and the people who drink it, join us each week for WhiskyCast. In Shively, Kentucky, I'm Mark Gillespie.